Hey guys, welcome to this big show. Man, morning, happy Valentine's Day, I guess. So this is your reminder if you have a Valentine and you haven't already bought her something today, you better do it. You just need to do it. Okay, hey, as I said in the show notes today, we're kind of doing a special little tribute to basically the inventor of APRS, Bob Bruninga, WB4APR. Bob, as we say in the ham radio business, became a silent key, which means he passed away, I think, last week. One of my good friends, Don Arnold, W6GPS, Don called me and said, "Hey, have you heard?" And I hadn't, because, I'm in my own little bubble here. And and he said, "Hey, Bob Bruninga passed away, and it would be really good if we could do some kind of a little tribute." So I've got a couple of friends. I've got Don Arnold and another one of his buddies, Lynn, KJ4ERJ. They're both here with us live, and I'm just going to kind of turn it over to these guys and let them tell you. Don, you're up here live right now, and can you hear me?
The only thing, Bob, is I cannot hear anything.
You can't hear anything?
That seems to be affirmative.
Okay.
You guys carry on for a second.
Okay. So anyway, and this over here on my right, this is Lynn. Lynn, you want to introduce yourself? Tell the gang who you are and everything, and I'll put you up on the big screen here. And
I like being narrowed up so you don't see the trash in the background of my office here. But yeah, my name's Lynn Deffenbaugh, KJ4ERJ. My biggest claim to fame is I'm the author of the APRS IS32 Windows APRS client that I'm working on replacing the capabilities of UIView with for quite a number of years now. So I've been playing with APRS for a long time. And Don managed to look me up a while back, and we linked up a couple of times.
Sorry, Bob, I can't hear anything. Just call my cell phone. I'm sorry.
Okay. And then, boy, this is why we have, man, this is going to get interesting here. Let me try to call Don and see if we can't put him on the phone. Then you could just watch him talk. Let's see, Don. This is, okay. All right.
I can't hear you guys.
This will probably look like a bad lip sync.
This is going to be fun. All right, Don.
Sorry,
Let me see. I think I need to mute you here on the phone. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. So, Don, go ahead and tell everybody who you are. I know a lot of people already know who you are from your YouTube videos. The D74 kind of made you famous, but I'm kind of just turning this thing over to you guys, and you could talk about Bob Bruninga, APRS, and everything you want to talk about.
All right. And first of all, I want to apologize for everybody. I tried to make this thing work, but we're in survival mode. But anyway, many of you guys know me from being in the ham radio industry since 1989 with the Outbacker antenna, the AvMap. I would help Kenwood in the booth and things like that. So, to quote the opening line to Chariots of Fire, today we're going to talk about the legend. And the legend of Bob Bruninga, WB4APR, was just an amazing person. And I read over his bio, and I sent a link to Bob there in Idaho that he can post. First of all, Bob Bruninga was a very humble guy. He was never, ever bragging on his accomplishments. He was a decorated commander in the U.S. Navy. He was a who's who in Marquise, which is a professional kind of a who's who group. He was an electrical engineer, electronics engineer. When he left the Navy, retired from the Navy in 1990, he became a chairman at the Naval Academy as an electronics instructor. His job career field in the Navy, he was an electrical engineer. And so he's the guy that kept the ship's electronics going. The other thing he did when he got into the Navy Academy as an instructor is he worked with buildings with midshipmen small satellites. But I've learned more about Bob after he died than before, because the guy just would not talk. I would ask him about his Navy career, and he would always change subjects, simply because he just did not like to take the spotlight. And so eventually he was coming up with APRS back in the 80s. And then eventually it evolved to different forms. He worked with, helped Kenwood establish the APRS radios. And just a wonderful guy to be around. Now, some of the pictures I've sent in, when he would be with Shin Iota from Kenwood and developing the D72, the D7, the 710. So Bob and Kenwood and the ISS have all been tied together. So, so he's just, this is a picture of him with John Glenn, and he's talking about his these little satellites that orbit around the Earth. They're about the size of 3 cigarette packs, microsatellites. So anyway, that is kind of, in a nutshell, the guy was a genius. Every year when we thought we had APRS conquered, he would come up with something new. And then we have to learn, right, Lynn?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He was a master at taking
so it was
the technology.
It was always a changing form of medium, and I consider his accomplishments in ham and amateur radio right there with the development of the single sideband, the FM transmitter, Morse code, because APRS is very, 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 very useful. And I'm gonna let Lynn talk about the usability and the impact of what Bob created to the amateur radio community.
Sure. Thanks, Don. And Bob had a knack at being able to take existing hardware and surplus hardware and leverage it in completely different ways into APRS. Like APRS, most of you know APRS is based on AX25, and on the 2-meter band, we typically use Bell 202 modem standard for 1200 baud APRS. The reason? There was a whole bunch of Bell 202 modem chips available on surplus. So they rolled out to a bunch of things, and that's how APRS ended up with the transport over RF that we have now. But Bob always called APRS a tactical real-time information sharing system using standard protocols. Well, the standard protocols is pretty much limited to AX25 and what the APRS developers back in the day came up with to layer on top of that AX25. But it can do vehicle tracking, it can do messaging, it transmits telemetry. Individuals can actually put different objects on a map so other people can see what's going on. That's where the tactical situational awareness of APRS comes in, is anybody can put the information on the map. The messaging support of APRS supports bulletin boards. You can actually have a bulletin board where anybody can replace any line of text on the bulletin board and everyone can see the most recent contents. It's an excellent way of sharing information about what's going on in a given area. And what's amazing to me is he developed it originally on a VIC-20 and a Commodore 64. And back in that day, he called it CETS, the Connectionless Emergency Traffic System. And that was in 1984. So dating back that far, I was barely out of college in 1984 when he was doing this. He renamed the CETS to APRS in 1992. So 30 years ago is when APRS with that name actually came out. It's gone through a lot of revisions from digipeaters that didn't know when to stop digipeating in the old relay wide paradigm. And now we have the wide NN or new N paradigm that lets the digipeaters stop. Now, I just used a whole lot of terms there that some of you may not have ever heard of. Digipeater. Digipeater on APRS is just like a voice repeater, but instead of a simultaneous transmit, the digipeater hears the packet, turns around, and retransmits the packet later. All on that, what Bob negotiated globally is a shared APRS frequency. Here in the United States and a lot of Western countries, it's 144.390. If you want to hear what APRS sounds like in its digital form, just tune your 2-meter radio over to 144.390 and take a listen. In most areas of the country, you'll hear packets within minutes, if not seconds. In Europe and other areas like that, they use 144.800 as their APRS frequency. The gorgeousness of the protocol is if you have an APRS device here and you're running it on 144.390, you can go to Europe and, assuming you have the appropriate license, fire it up on 144.800 and it will just work. It is a global reach and global accessibility for the same sets of hardware. And that's what Bob was so good about. He had a charisma. He was a negotiator. He knew how to persuade people and encourage people and bring people to a common page. That's a knack that not everyone in the world has, unfortunately. Well, maybe fortunately, or we'd all be pulling in different directions because of all the charisma of everybody. So that's what APRS is. Don, what area might you want to dive into in more detail? Or Bob, throw in questions where I just blew over stuff with assumed knowledge.
Well, one of the main things that APRS that used has been in search and rescue. And Bob, up in your neck of the woods in Placer County, I've visited the sheriff's department up there, and they actually have horseback search and rescue units that have APRS units, trackers with the search and rescue teams up there in Placer County. So as far as tactical information, APRS is extremely efficient. The amount of memory that it uses in the processors is very, very low. And it's just amazing that the things like balloon launches, high altitude balloon launches, search and rescue, even community services like if there's a race, a foot race, you can put trackers on runners. And the one thing that Bob if you really want to get him aggravated, just tell him about it just being a tracker. It's not just he would absolutely go rabid over. He would cringe. It would be like taking your fingernails, going down the chalkboard, and making that scratchy sound. It's not a tracker. It's situation information. It's tactical information that's going on. In fact, there was a plan with the U.S. Army, West Point, that they were going to give a tracker to every cadet when they did their physical fitness runs, because they're long, they're a couple miles long. And you remember a couple years ago, they lost somebody simply because they couldn't find them. But they were spinning up to do something like that, and you can actually see the cadets on the running course on a big screen. So very, very efficient, not just a tracker. And so I'll speak for Bob. Please, folks, it's not just a tracker. But as a person, I'm just going to segue and say, as a person, he was enthusiastic about life. He could have made lots of money on royalties, but he didn't. He wanted to be used freely amongst the ham community. And every now and then, he'll get a few radios and things like that. And so, and I think a big accomplishment a couple of years ago was he was involved with the redesign of the firmware for the Kenwood 710 that's on the International Space Station. So the firmware engineer, Mr. Shin Iota, came over, and they went to I believe it's in Houston. I think it's the Johnson Space Center, but the Space Center there in Houston. And they actually worked on programs and protocols for the astronauts to give us that APRS ability. Push of a button, it'll go into a voice repeater. So he was, and I'm thrilled that he had that experience, because it was kind of a big thing. So as a person, very humble. The other thing that he was really avid on was alternate energy sources, and he would drive to Hamfest with his Prius with solar panels taped onto his roof, and he would talk, how much fuel he was saving because he was charging his batteries and stuff like that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing story. Now, I got a question, and let me get to, let's see.
Yeah, there's a couple coming up in the chat that we can answer too.
Yeah. ICOM. What? They use DPRS, and DPRS takes the D-star signal, and I guess if it hits a D-star repeater, that's connected, that goes out to a digipeater or something, and then reports as APRS. And I know neither one of you guys work for ICOM. You can't speak. I always thought it was like a licensing thing. And can you explain maybe why you guys might think or know from Bob Bruninga's angle why ICOM never introduced an APRS radio?
I can't answer that. I have opinions, but those opinions I just need to kind of keep to myself. But yes, the DPRS. I forgot the gentleman's name there in Texas. So who's a guy in Texas that? Oh, I'll remember. Somebody's going to say.
Guy?
But basically, they'll take the latitude, longitude in a DPRS string. They'll spit it out to a processor, and then it'll be sent to the APRS IS server, from what I understand. So yeah, there is a difference. There is a difference. They're two different critters. So I wish I could answer more on that, but I just can't.
Yeah, I have no inside knowledge of what the deal is with ICOM and analog APRS, but they do at least transmit their location information on a data subchannel. And if you're connected to a suitably configured D-Star gateway, then at that gateway, it will convert that location information to an APRS packet and inject it directly to what we call the APRS IS. which is the internet server transport end of APRS. Unless there is an actual iGate somewhere that wants to, those DPRS packets will not appear on the APRS RF frequency, but only on the internet connected clients. And Pete Lovell may be the name you were digging for, Don. Pete Lovell is the guy that wrote the DPRS
Pete Lovell.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Pete. I just having a brain freeze. It's my age.
That's okay.
Okay, got a question from the gallery. Digital Dreamer. Let me see if I can't get that up on the screen. Can you explain the web address for APRS? Never seen it used for anything else.
I would love to know what web address he's talking about. If he's talking about APRS.FI, I can answer that question.
That's probably
if he's
it.
talking about some other web address, I'd like to know what it is. But APRS.FI is a website that is run by a guy in Finland, hence the .fi. His name is Heisu, and I'm not even going to try to tackle his last name. But all he runs, it's quite extensive. He runs a client that connects to the APRS IS and several other location information sources, gathers all that data, stores it into a database, and has a truly gorgeous and capable web front end for it, which is why most of what you see at APRS.FI looks like it's vehicle tracking, because that's what is so in your face with the map and the icons moving around on the map, and it's absolutely gorgeous. But if you look deeper into APRS.FI, he does have a feature where you can look at the bulletin boards. He has a feature where you can look at the messages that have been flying around the APRS. I use it extensively for diagnosing issues, because you can see the raw packets that his website has captured off of the IS and stored. So it's an awesome website, and I'm sure that's the one that he's asking about. It is the most popular APRS website that's out there.
Interesting. Very interesting. Do either one of you guys see any other questions from the gallery that you want to handle?
I saw two in there, and Don, you looked like you said.
Yeah, I think some of these questions were very good, and there are people that have, they're feeding information that I think is very good. And before I'm going to have to go off camera. I'll be monitoring on my phone, but I would like Lynn to tell the audience what we want to propose, what we want to do. And with that, I'm gonna sign off my computer. I've got to go to my other job, but I will be listening in. And I do appreciate you folks tuning in. And again, sorry for the issue here, but that's just the way it is. I just want to say that Bob was a good friend. He was professional, and I really, every year going to Dayton, I always was looking forward to bump into him. So I'm going to turn it over to Lynn. I'm going to QSY to my car. Okay.
All right. Hey, thanks, Don. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day at work.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Lynn, you're on solo now. Any other questions that you want to tackle that you've seen in the gallery?
I'm going to get back to two comments from the gallery in just a second, but I wanted to dovetail off of what what Don suggested. We were brainstorming for an idea of a tribute that we could pay to Bob, and especially from the APRS perspective. So I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this show live, and some of which will watch it later, that are APRS users. And what we're going to propose is that we all add a hashtag WB4APR, Whiskey Bravo 4 Alpha Papa Romeo. That was Bob Bruninga's call sign. And we could do that in our APRS comments on your mobile station, your iGate, wherever you have that does APRS. And we're proposing we put that into our comments for the next month or so, just as an ongoing tribute, visible tribute, that we support Bob and we remember and honor his memory. So
Very
just
cool.
hashtag #WB4APR.
Okay.
And we'll recap that maybe at the end of the show too, Bob, if you remind me.
Not a problem. Hey, you know what? The show is yours. I'm just here to push the buttons today.
Well, thank you for that. I see K3JRZ did call me, and he caught me in a minor inconsistency. He said that APRS was first done in the Apple IIs. Well, that's almost correct. Bob wrote the first data map program with naval ship positions on an Apple II while he was in Japan in 1982. Then in 1984 is when he developed CETS on the VIC-20 and the Commodore 64, which then changed its name in 1992 to APRS. So yeah, the first position mapping thing was ships for the Navy on an Apple II. And when you see my eyes go up, it's because I have a monitor at the top that has all my reference information on it. So pardon me not looking at you while I'm talking.
That's okay.
Yeah. I see AE4XO said that they used it, APRS, in the Summer Olympics in Atlanta. That is one of the most awesome uses, is that positional awareness that I'm sure you used it for. Who's where, what's going on, what's the latest situation. We actually use APRS here in Central Florida to support bicycle events, fundraising bicycle events for Ronald McDonald House. Yeah. Anyway, there's 3 different nonprofits that do bicycle events in Central Florida. Net Control brings up an APRS station, and all of the supporting gear drivers that are ham operators, we bring up our trackers, we have our voice radios, but Net Control never needs to call out on the voice repeater and ask who is closest to where I have this call from a bicyclist that needs assistance. He looks at his map and he puts out the call directly to the SAG that is right there closest nearby. And he can see where the SAGs are, tell different SAGs to move around so we don't all tend to bunch up at the same place on the course. So just being able to see where the assets are without calling on the voice repeater to ask is what APRS shines in.
That's very cool. Now, along those lines, do you need to have, say, a smartphone or a computer with you when you're doing that? Or can you can't see that obviously on the radio?
Not on the radio, no, but almost. There's so many different ways to interface to APRS. You've got the HTs, and I happen to have 2 of them right here. We got a Kenwood D74 and a Kenwood D72. On these radios, you're very limited in your display, but if you do get an RF reception of an object, you can bring that object up on the screen and it will give you a distance, a bearing and a distance to where that object is relative to where you are. So if you're really, really good with it, you could do it with just what shows up on the front panel of your radio. But most of the guys that are doing the SAG operations, they hook a laptop or their cell phone or something with a GUI graphical display with a map so that they can see on the map what's going on where. The nice thing about APRS is they don't have to have an internet connection in their mobile. They can get the feed from their radio, feed it into their mapping application directly, and not need to worry about internet coverage, which is really important. One of the rides they cover over here is called the Horrible 100 because it goes out through, yes, we have it, a hilly region in Central Florida, and a 100-mile ride out through the hills, and there are places there that cell coverage doesn't exist, even here in the state of Florida. But we have good APRS coverage, so you can still know what's going on where on your local map. And of course, we still have the voice repeater.
Okay.
So very good question about do you need that?
Okay. I got Don is back in, and let's put him to the left of you. Don, you're back in. Nope, he's not.
Was for a minute.
Okay. Questions, comments, anything from the gallery. Let's just kind of open it up here. I see.
There from A0WAV.
Oh yeah, he's in there.
If you can put his little question about the services that have spun up around APRS. He
There you
mentions
go.
a few of them there.
Yeah.
We've got SMS GTE. Now, all of these things that Scott's asking about use the APRS messaging. So as long as you're in an area with good iGate coverage, you can use your HT and send messages to these autoresponders and get answers back. SMS GTE is the SMS gateway from your APRS HT or APRS anything. You can send a message to SMS GTE with a cell phone number and a short message following it. And that short message will be sent as a text message to that cell phone number. On top of that, the cell phone can actually reply back, and a reverse message will be directed back to the originator of the request, and you can have a two-way conversation via texting to cells from your APRS messaging station.
Yeah,
WLink,
that's very cool.
isn't that amazing?
That is.
The repeat autoresponder, if you send a message to repeat, for instance, like 2M, it will reply back with the nearest, I believe the default is 3 2-meter repeaters to where you are currently located. So when you're on a road trip and driving who knows where, if you've got good APRS coverage, you send a message to repeat with 2M, and you'll find out what the frequencies and tones are for the repeaters that you're likely to be able to hit based on your current location.
Wow. I'm going to have to try that. That sounds very cool.
WXBOT is another new one. You can send a message to WXBOT. I'm not sure the actual syntax off the top of my head, but your favorite search engine will probably find it for you if you look for APRS WXBOT. And it will reply back to you your current weather forecast for where you are located. I think it only works in the United States, though. For any international viewers, we apologize for that.
Okay, and we have some DX guys here.
Right.
So
WLNK, I'm not real familiar with, but it is WinLink. That WLNK responder is WinLink, and I believe you can use APRS messaging to query whether or not you have any WinLink messages waiting for you to know whether or not you want to tap into your WinLink and pop your mail out. And there are other autoresponders. The SOTA, Summits on the Air folks, have a method where they can send a message to APRS, a certain responder, to generate spots to say what mountaintop they're sitting on, what summit they're activating, to encourage the chasers to tune in and catch them while they're up there on the summit.
Very cool. Very cool.
And of course, when you're on a summit, you probably have good coverage to everything.
Yeah. You know what? The last time I was on a summit, we were able to get in 100 miles back into the Sacramento Valley. And I was way up in the middle of nowhere. Now here out in Idaho, I have no idea where I'm going to be. That's just, that is just something that I'm going to have to figure out. I haven't done a summit or a POTA or anything out here yet. Let's see.
You're kind of out in the boondocks there.
Yeah. Let's see. Todd out in Hawaii. He says, APRS saved the life of a fellow ham 2 years ago. Joe was out in the desert of Nevada. He was bicycling, came downhill super fast when a couple of dogs ran into him and left him to die. Wow. And I guess he was able to get out on APRS and saved his life.
That's a pretty good story. I'd love to have a link to that because I will add that to my APRS presentations.
Very cool.
Because that is the ultimate. I know when my wife and I were vacationing in Europe, I was APRS tracking both from our car, and I actually got my extra license specifically so I could operate APRS RF in Europe. I mean,
Really?
most people go get their extras to get more band coverage or whatever. I did it so I could transmit on 2 meters with APRS in Europe.
That's cool.
But I would periodically would be standing in lines at museums, and I had my cell phone tracker turned on to APRS, and I would get messages from random people around the planet asking me if we were going into the museum, telling me to check out this certain exhibit because they knew what was in there, simply because they knew where I was, and I didn't have to tell anybody.
That's pretty cool. That is.
But that's a two-edged sword as well. I remember I got licensed because my son and a couple of his friends wanted to get licensed, and we discovered APRS, and that was just fit right in my bag. So my wife and I were on a road trip across Florida, and we were down in the boondocks somewhere outside of Okeechobee, and it was a beautiful, clear, starlit night, which it's not clear here where I live on the East Coast. But so we decided we would stop and do some stargazing. We were only stopped for about 3 minutes before the phone rang. My son and his friends were calling to find out if we fell off the road in the middle of nowhere because our vehicle stopped moving on the APRS map. So it's a two-edged sword for people knowing where you are and whether or not you're moving.
It is. And I'll tell you what, I've used APRS in a lot of different ways. One of my favorite things, several of us were headed from Northern California down to Quartzsite, Arizona. And there was 3 of us. We were talking to each other on, I think it was a Fusion. Yeah, it was on. We were all had our open spots going, so we were talking to each other on Fusion that was connected to the repeater we had back home, and on the other side we had APRS. So we were tracking where each other were along the road. I'm 5 miles behind Burton, and and Dennis was kind of tracking us from home. It was very cool. It was. Got another question here. K3JRZ on the air says, can you send spotting info to the POTA website via APRS?
Actually, he says you can send. So POTA apparently has a spotting feature the same that SOTA has.
Very cool. So yes, I guess you can. And who's in? Don's trying to join in again. I don't know if we're going to be able to hear him, but we'll be able to see him here. I'm going to put him right up there.
Well, we know where Don's at.
Don's on his way to work. And there he goes.
Yeah.
He keeps hitting the link, and I keep letting him in.
Yeah, I think we were looking out the back of his cell phone in a car mount.
I think so. The digital dreamer Todd out in Hawaii says APRS has gotten bigger over the last couple of years. And I believe it.
Has. The growth has exploded, and all it takes is looking at your own local map or looking at what's going on, and just if you sign up on any of the APRS groups, any of the mailing lists, any of the Facebook groups, or wherever you get your news feeds from, there's probably an APRS special interest group, and the things people are coming up with to use it for are amazing. Like the telemetry features of APRS. Some people use it to monitor things in their remote cabins. They're monitoring sump pumps in their basement to know if their basement's flooding and the pump's not running. I actually use it to monitor the hot water temperature in my master bath, of all things. Now, this is a true case of when the only tool you have is a hammer, everything in the world looks like a nail. Mm-hmm. Well, the tool in my bag is APRS. And we were putting a hot water recirculation pump on the master bath so that we didn't have to wait for hot water in the morning. So I have a temperature sensor in the master bath that sends APRS telemetry data as far as what the temperature is. I have something else that's watching that telemetry and tells the circulation pump to turn on when the hot water in the master bath is too cold.
Wow. That just kind of goes like way over my head. Let's see. You know what? I've got a question because I use APRS. I don't use it every day because I'm not traveling all the time, and I don't monitor it. I don't have an eye gate or anything. Man, how come I can't? Okay, let me do that, and then I'm not hearing an echo when I talk. Is there a website or a resource that explains what all those SM gate or the SM gate, the repeat, all those functions? Is there a website or some kind of a resource that maybe I could post up later, or that, you know, guys like me can use?
That is a most excellent question, Bob. And it actually recently came up on the APRS SIG mailing list, because right now there is no central clearinghouse for that information. And in the wake of Bob's death, we're actually looking at trying to get some good centralized clearing of what APRS's capabilities are, what of these autoresponders are available, how to use them, or at least links to them is what we're really intending. Not to pull the information together, but to pull an index together so that we can point to the people that are doing these wonderful things with the APRS autoresponders like Repeat and SMS Gateway and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't exist yet. But watch this space over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully something will come together.
Good. That would be awesome, because I always forget. You know, I don't use the functions every day, and I know that, you know, ham radio was a lot of use it or lose it.
Yes.
And when I don't use something for a couple of months, I forget it even exists, and then I remember, but I don't remember how, and It's a vicious cycle. And then you're back to YouTube, and you're exploring random YouTube videos. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, trying to remember how that worked. That's actually, people ask me, why do my vehicles track? I have an APO3 power unit that turns on the tracker automatically after the vehicle starts, lets it run 20 minutes after I turn it off. People ask me, why do you do that all the time? I said, why do we have nets on voice repeaters? We have nets on voice repeaters to make sure our equipment is still working and that the repeater is still working.
Mm-hmm.
I track my vehicles, and I look at my vehicles track so that I know that the digipeaters, my iGate, the other local iGates are all actually still functioning properly. So it's not a vehicle tracking system, but that gives us a very convenient way to keep it automatically checked out, as it were.
Yeah.
I'm sure a bunch of your listeners do satellite. They work the satellites, voice satellites.
I'm sure a bunch do.
Well, APRS messaging has an autoresponder that will help you find out when the next pass is of your favorite satellite.
Really?
If you send an APRS message to literally ISS, the body of the message can be anything you want except somebody else's valid APRS station ID, and I'll get back to why. You just send a message to ISS with an X, and it will reply back to you with the next ISS pass in your area. When it comes up, how high above the horizon it is, and how long the pass duration is.
Very cool. You see, now that's something, because I dabble in the satellite thing. I'm not like serious about it, but I dabble. I kind of dabble in everything in ham radio. But that would be a great tool, because right now I'm using an app on the phone, and it's kind of a pain in the butt every once in a while.
Yeah, for APRS folks that like, the ISS has an APRS digipeater on it. It's on when they're not doing EVA and not using the voice repeater. So you're never really sure when the ISS digipeater is going to be on. But if you're like I was one day, bored sitting on a parking lot waiting for my YL to come out from shopping, I just sent a quick message over to ISS and it came back and said, there's a pass going on right now. So I switched the radio over to the ISS frequency, copied packets from the ISS digipeater, and actually got one of my own packets digipeated through the ISS. Sitting in the middle of a parking lot with no pre-planning. It's that easy to work APRS through the satellites.
That's awesome. What radio were you using?
That was a Kenwood D700.
Okay.
That's my mobile APRS rig.
So you were sitting in the car.
Sitting in the car, waiting for her to come out of the store. It was
That's
great.
Awesome. I love that.
I got a request for K3JRZ, actually.
Yeah.
I'd like him to send me that list of autoresponders that he has in his cloud. My email address is my callsign at ARRL.net. So Kilo Juliet 4, Echo Romeo Juliet at ARRL.net. Send me that list and we'll use it as a bootstrap for the autoresponder list.
Sweet. You see how I love this audience. Everybody here is sharing information and everybody's making everybody just a little bit smarter.
That's my goal for life is I try to learn something new every day. And then I say I get to go back to bed after I learn my something new, but to help share with other people and what they need to know. Digital Dreamer's asking, is there such a thing as an APRS net? And there are a few out there. I'm not real familiar with most of them. I know there's one on Monday nights that every now and again I check into. For that, there's really no easy way to find those either, unfortunately. I know some voice nets actually support APRS check-ins around the country. Yeah, the APRS net, it's a check-in only net is what it comes down to. You send the message to net control as a check-in and they put you in their log. The ones I've been involved with don't send any information back out to the net, unfortunately. It's kind of like a D-Star net, if any of you've checked in with a D-Star net. The first one I did was over here at Disney at DEERS, the Disney Emergency Amateur Radio Society. Mm-hmm. The D-Star net is you just kerchunk because your call sign and everything else is provided for you in that kerchunk and they get the log from the kerchunks.
Now, I used to check into that every once in a while. And I thought what it was is, everybody would kerchunk and net control would get everybody's call signs and everything, and then go through and, hey, do you got any traffic?
Yes. It was you did the initial check-in with the kerchunk, and then the one I did was a weather net. So net control would come back through the roster and call for what your weather was where you were.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I just thought the check-in was so cool to get kerchunk.
Yeah. Okay. Scott has one here. The WL-Link -1 autoresponder will actually allow you to list and send short WinLink messages using APRS link protocol found at winlink.org. Okay. Very cool. I'm not a WinLink user, so I I don't know how, and I haven't really had that need. I'm not really active in Aries or Races anymore, so I'm kind of like, it's kind of a cool thing, but not enough that I want to dive in and have to learn the whole new thing.
Yeah, most of us really don't need yet another email address to feed us data.
Yeah.
I signed up for mine. I got it working, and I've got to confess, unlike you, Bob, I haven't done much with WinLink either.
Okay. Todd asks, I wonder if an Apple tag can be used for APRS. Have any idea?
Well, that's a really good question. I have to go look what an Apple tag is. An air tag? I
think that's might be what he means. I guess you would just assign it as an object, but
Yeah.
But I don't know how you would do that.
Well, there's some really cool things people are doing. One is a guy, I want to say he's in Australia, and I'm drawing a complete blank at what his APRS app is. It's specifically designed for search and rescue. Let's see if I can find it here real quick. But his goal with his APRS client is it's not just APRS. He is supporting every imaginable source of location information that he can pull into his central monitoring system. Looking down SARtrack, and he's in New Zealand.
Okay.
ZL4FOX, Bart Kint is his name, and he developed SARtrack. And he has an APRS module for SARtrack. If anyone has the ability to hook Apple tag information into an APRS type view, it would be SARtrack.
Yeah. And I don't really know what an Apple tag is or what you use them for. I guess I always thought it was like something you just threw in the back of somebody's car to find my friend who's not my friend right now.
Yeah, it looks like one of these Bluetooth kind of devices that everyone's Apple device senses what Bluetooths are in the neighborhood and just say, hey, I'm here and I saw that tag, and I'm here and I saw that tag, and goes into Apple's centralized server, I suspect, so that the owner of that tag can find out where it was most recently seen. Mm-hmm. That's my guess from just looking at their first 3 pages of their blurb on their website.
Okay.
But hooking that into APRS comes down to, can you access the data? What was the airplane that did the circumnavigation of the globe on Solar? Solar One?
Yeah. That was 5-6 years ago, something.
It was.
And I can't remember the Pegasus or Pegasus 1 or something like that.
Some name like that. Well, I wanted to see that on the APRS map. So they had a website where they put their airplane on their map, and I actually scraped the location data off of their map and converted it to an APRS object, and we could actually watch, I think it was Solar One, flying around the planet.
Okay.
Similar things have been done with,
I know there's a lot of people in the boating world who are, you could track them in real time, and I don't know if that's done through satellites and it has to be, because there's no way they could put an APRS packet out in the middle of the ocean.
Well, the boating industry has AIS, which I don't know what AIS stands for, but it is the ship tracker.
Okay.
And all commercial vessels have to have it. It's a technology similar to, but not exactly, APRS. Mm-hmm. And it's their information's transmitted on 2 meters on the marine band. People that live along the coast, hams, can put up receiving stations and capture and interpret, and provide those AIS receptions to things like Ship Plotter, which is a website that tracks ships. Mm-hmm. Jesu at APRS.fi gets a feed of some of that global AIS data, and that's why you see ships on his APRS.fi map. Because he's picking all that up from the AIS backup.
Very interesting.
And I don't think AIS specifically goes through satellites, but it's definitely peer-to-peer. The ships hear the other ships so that they know who's close by.
Okay.
And that's how they can do collision avoidance and things like that.
Gotcha. Let's see. Well, we're about 5 minutes away from the end of the hour. Man, anything else you wanna cover here, or you wanted to go back over hashtag WB4APR? I guess.
Yes. What we said back a while ago is Don and I were looking for a way that we could honor Bob's memory. As for those of you that might have joined us late, this show is about commemorating Bob Bruninga, WB4APR. He is the father, the inventor of the APRS system that a lot of us have come to know and love and use on a daily basis. So in order to honor his memory, he became a silent key on the 7th of February. So keep him in your prayers, keep his family in your prayers, whatever that means to your particular belief system. But in order to honor Bob's memory and the contribution he gave to amateur radio, we're proposing that all APRS operators out there for the next 30 days or so, put hashtag WB4APR into your comment text. That's hashtag Whiskey Bravo 4 Alpha Papa Romeo. That was Bob's call sign. And wherever he is, if he can actually see what's going on down here, I'm sure he would be suitably touched by our reaching out and commemorating his memory. So if you put that hashtag WB4APR in your comment text, he's setting one up today.
That's my phone yelling at me.
Oh,
Dawn, W6GPS, sending me text messages. He says, thanks, Bob. Sorry for the comm issues. Dawn, no problem. We worked it out by the old school technology merging with the new school technology. Lynn, I want to thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome. I'm glad I could make this happen for you guys. I know you guys were friends with Bob. You guys were all in the same big community or small community of APRS developers and professionals.
Only we got paid.
Yeah. But let's see. Let me get to a couple of. You had some?
3 bits of information over into the guest chat. If you can somehow get those out to the real chat, I don't know how to get stuff directly into the real chat. It's a link to my APRS client's wiki, which has information about my client as well as APRS in general. And my email address is there. Feel free to publish that and the hashtag WB4APR.
Okay. And yeah, go ahead and just put into the chat your information or the information you want out. And I'll get that. I'll grab it after the show and I'll put it in the description and it'll be in here too.
Okay, I don't have a way to put it in there because I'm not a live viewer. I can only put it in the guest chat privately to you.
Oh, no. The guest chat. You can, everybody will see your text. It'll go into the chat.
I've put 6 different things in there that hasn't shown up in comments.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm not in the YouTube chat. I'm in the Ecamm Live chat, I think.
Okay. And I don't even know how to get to that. Man, you just told me there's something new in here that I don't know about. It's another chat window. See, I've got the chat window up and it shows everything that's coming through YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in the...
You're in a different
I see those
one.
in the comments. Yeah, I'm in a guest chat that says chat privately with host and other guests.
Okay, because I can't even see that, and I didn't even know it was there, to be honest.
Well, if I can bring up a YouTube view of the live thing, I can put it in where you want it.
Yeah.
I'm not even
actually, send me an email, and I'll throw it in there. I'll throw it in the comments or in the live or the description. That's it. Okay. All right, guys. It is 1300. It's time to end the lunch hour. I want to thank everybody for jumping in there, for watching. I want to say, wow. I want to say, my condolences to Bob Bruninga's family and his friends. And hang on here. What are we doing here? I've got to get. Oh yeah, good. Anyway, thank you guys for being up here. I would have gone to camera 2, but camera 2, you're gonna love this. It's messing up bad. So no camera 2 today. We're all on camera 1. That's okay. I got new parts coming. I'll fix you, you little bugger. You gotta just love this stuff. Things work, then they don't. They work, then they don't. Anyway, my friends, thank you again for being part of the show. Thanks for joining us for Lunch and Ham Radio. I want to thank Lynn for being here for the full hour. I want to thank Dawn for being here for half the show and talking about their good friend, Bob Bruninga. Next week, who knows what we're going to be. Oh, you know what? Next week, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do this because I'm traveling out to California. Yep, on Monday. So no live show on Monday. I'll be headed out to California to go visit some family out there. And then I should be back. Well, we'll see. But anyway, I'll try to get out something next week while I'm out there. I'll try to get out. I've got a couple of videos that I'm working on for this week. I'll try to get those things done and out of here and off to you guys. Anyway, if you like this video, please thumbs up on the video. And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. You guys know the drill. I'm Bob, Case